All right, we're live. I got a cat sitting there. Remember that little steam engine I showed you before? I got it running now, and that's going to be the what we play with on our show tonight. Assuming the cat doesn't get in the way too much. Anyhow, I'm going to say hi to folks around here first. Cooking tonight? No, we're playing with steam, semi locomotion. Huey's here. Good to see you. John Fuzzy's here. Billy Lee, nice to see you. Jim, where's the snowstorms? It's not going to snow much for a while, but it's going to turn cold as hell tomorrow night. It's going to be like 15 below for a low, and not much better for a high for a day or two. I've been looking glad you're in Texas because of the snowstorms. Jimmy Langford's here. Cynthia, let's see here. Billy Lee, having waffles or pancakes in the morning. Well, pancakes are good. Guess be cooking anything, maybe heated up barley soup. Fried wings, thighs and wings, lima beans, biscuits, syrup. That sounds good. Candied corn. Next thing I cook, I'm probably going to make some. I've never actually made fried rice before. I like fried rice, but I haven't got around to making some for myself, so I'm going to do that next week, hopefully. That's the plan, anyhow. Not sure what I'll make to go with it, if anything. I'll figure it out along the way. And I got the stove going in the living room, the big stove. I don't have the little stove going right now because I mean, it's not warm, but it's warm enough that I don't need. Don't you go attacking my feet, you ridiculous cat. Stop it. Put my slippers on, deter you a little bit. She doesn't like attacking my slippers, but she'll chew the hell out of my feet and ankles when she gets bored. Anyway, where was I? It ain't really uh, cold enough that I need both stoves going. It's just cold enough that I need the stove going in the living room. Tomorrow, Thursday morning, I'm definitely gonna fire them both up. Looks like a train wreck. Yeah, that's what happens when you run a boiler dry. Most of the time when you hear of a boiler explosion, it's because they ran it dry. Now, the boilers on locomotives like that were a fire tube boiler. There's two kinds of boilers: fire tube and water tube, basically. The fire tube, as the name implies, you have the firebox and the exhaust gas and flames run through tubes which are surrounded by water. If you boil the water level too low in the boiler, it'll expose some of those tubes. The heat will weaken them and it'll go bang. With a water tube boiler, there's a firebox with tubes full of water around it, and the water boils and circulates through them. When those explode, usually what happens is, again, you run them dry, the metal gets way too hot, and all of a sudden it'll get a surge of water, feed water or something into the boiler. The cold water hits the hot metal, things break, and things go bang. When you suddenly release the pressure on water that's boiling, the boiling point drops. The a percentage of the water flashes into steam just about instantly. And steam, I think, is 500 sometimes the volume of the same weight of water. Well, you're trying to contain all of that volume in one spot. It ain't going to work. And that's how things go bang. But anyhow, I think I got said hi to everybody. I'll fire up my little steam engine here in a second. Pat Z's here. Minnie's here. Yeah, she's making a nuisance of herself. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Yeah, I was working Thanksgiving night, but I made a turkey breast at work on my rotisserie. Worked out pretty good. Fritz is drinking and restoring cast iron in the garage. That's a hell of a good thing to do. Anyhow, I showed you this. This is a Mamod little steam engine boiler. It's got a whistle on it. That's the filler plug and the safety valve. On the end, that's the overflow plug. You take that out, take your filler out, fill it up with water till it runs out of that hole, put your plugs back in, and away you go. I've already filled this up with water, so that's ready to go. You got your piston, and the flywheel here. Try to do this by sight. You got your flywheel there. Now I got to lubricate that a little bit before I start. And I've got, now according to the instructions, you can use a motor oil, a fairly heavy oil like a 10W40. But I found that motor oils, especially detergent, when you get done, you'll have kind of a foamy muck inside the cylinder. So I got a hold of some, this is Yarway oil. It's a high temperature steam oil. We use it at work for lubricating the slip joints, the expansion joints on the steam mains, because you have to allow for expansion and contraction of the pipe. And you need an oil that can withstand both high temperatures and exposure to moisture. And that's just the stuff, and it works really good. I've tried it on this. Now this comes apart pretty easy. This is on a spring. It can swing out. You just unhook that, pull the piston out, and I'll give it a drop of oil. Put my glasses on so I can see what I'm actually doing. This is a pretty thick, heavy oil. I'll put just a little drop there. Set it down here so I can do this a little easier. And just a little touch on the piston itself. So you got a little oil on there. Put it together and spread it around. Get everything all lubricated good there. Take that little bit that I dripped. Put it on the pin. And I'll put that back on. Now, like I said, I've already got this full of water, and I've got my burner full of alcohol. You see there's a little screen on top, and this is packed full of cotton. You fill that up with denatured alcohol, and even though you can't see any alcohol, it's in there. I'm going to put that in there, and where'd my lighter go? I had a lighter handy. And come here. We'll get my burner lit. Hopefully. There we go. Kind of hard to see because there you can see it good against the black. Looking at it against the white on the screen is just about impossible to see. Got a little blue flame going there. Get that put inside where it belongs. Yep, she's burning good. Yeah, that's going. And now we wait for that to get heated up. The safety valve leaks a little bit. It's not the seal where it screws in, but it's the valve itself. There's a little kind of mushroom that pops up with excessive heat or excessive pressure. But as it's warming up, it'll leak a little bit of water, and it'll leak a little bit of steam when it's going, but it's not too much of a problem. I can get a new one for about $12. The problem is they come from England and it costs about $35 for shipping, so I'm not terribly worried about it. I just have to dab a little water when it starts dripping some water so it doesn't drip down onto my burner and partially put it out. Yeah, we're cooking right along. Now, while that's heating up, I'll show you the one thing I got here. Let me go back over some of these questions and let me get this oil secured so I don't end up with Yarway oil all over everything. Anyway, get that out of the way. All right. Let's see. Number 4, somebody back up. Druitt, good to see you, Druitt. Greetings from Milwaukee. It's going to be cold in Milwaukee too here before too much long. You have a question anybody can answer, you got an opportunity to get a number 4 Griswold large block logo for $40. Yeah, it's pretty good. Usually I've seen them go for anywhere between 80 and 130. So it was kind of a range depending on who's bidding on how bad they want it. But yeah, for number 4, 40 is a really good deal. And yeah, number 4s are hard to find across the board for pretty much every maker. 4 wasn't really a popular size. I mean, 3, was good for a small pan, and 5 was good for medium, and 4 wasn't really needed all that much. So they didn't sell really, really well. Is that a Stirling engine? No, that's a steam engine, which should be cooking along pretty soon. Warms up pretty fast. Now, I had to take the whistle off of this because the whistle was stuck. It didn't work. You're just wound up tonight, ain't you, Cat? She's hiding behind me. I had to take the whistle off, and there's a little insert soldered to the inside of the boiler tank. Yeah, mess around with something hot, you silly cat. And of course, when I was trying to get the whistle off, the insert broke loose, so I had to unsolder the end cap, solder it back on the inside, solder the end cap back on. So it was a bit of monkeying around to get it up and running, but it is up and running again. Get here. You got 2 small logo 4s and boosts for $75. Only have a large logo in my collection. Yeah, the small logo 4s don't go for as much as a large, but most of the small logo stuff doesn't go for as much as a large logo. Even though, as far as using them is concerned, they're the same pans. Oh, there she's dripping a bit. Oh, she's really peeing out of there. But once it gets steaming along, that it'll steam a bit, but it won't leak water. Now I know this isn't over full, but the water does expand when you heat it. And the problem is it can drip down and kind of douse my fire, which isn't something I want it to do. I think we're okay. Oops. That'll take just another minute. Once it gets warmed up, it's not quite heated up enough yet. Give the flywheel a spin. Make sure you can see everything on camera good there. Give the flywheel a spin and it'll take off and go when it's got enough pressure. Almost. There she goes. And it goes like hell when it goes. Better get a little more steam in there and get some of the water out of it. And you hear the whistle. Have you ever boiled black tea bags in a pot to season the inside? No, I haven't. And I think you mentioned that on the or somebody did anyway, on the Facebook page. I do know guys who trap, and they'll use black tea to blacken their traps. Usually like black tea and wax, and boil it up and dunk their traps in there. And it'll help to rust proof and waterproof the traps. And the wax lubricates them when it's cold. So it could work. I mean, I can see where you at least get a layer of black oxide on the inside. You still need a bit of the oil for the non-stick part of it. But as far as being rust proof, that would probably help. Anyway, this motor is reversible. I'll get him to stop here. Just shift it back this way and spin it the other way. But it doesn't seem to spin quite as fast backwards. I don't know why. We'll shift him back into forward. You gonna stay there now? Make sure it doesn't go vibrating off the edge on me. Always dyed your traps using walnut hulls. Yeah, those work too. They got tannic acid. It's basically what you're doing is using the tannic acid on the steel or the iron. Yeah, that's damn cool. Yeah, I got this one cheap. I only paid $40 for it. Usually these go for quite a bit more. Especially this particular brand. They tend to go for closer to 100. But there's a lot of kits out there you can still buy. Brand new ones, fancier, different types of motor engines. I got to figure out something to run on it because on the other end of the flywheel there is a pulley on there where you can run something off of it. I have to figure out something for that. But yeah, this runs for quite a while. We'll see how long she goes. Sears had them in the toy catalog when you were a kid. Yeah, they've been around. This company, Mammoth, they're an English company, and they started in the 1930s, and they were in business up until last year. Actually, they closed down last year. Last one we saw like that was $250. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of different variations, and I got this one cheap. You usually pay a lot more for them than you do, but yeah, that's a really damn cool little thing. Hook up a little alternator, have free power. Yeah, you could. I mean, they do make little generators, with lights for these things. There's all kinds of different stuff for them. Dyed your traps and black stuff. It took about 2 weeks to scrub off your hands. Yeah, that kind of sounds like black walnut hulls. Just cut the hull a little bit and rub it on your skin. Your skin will turn brown. It takes a long time for the brown to wear off. Let's see here. And once it starts running low on water, it'll you can tell the motor will slow down, and then I'll take the fire off of it. Hopefully you don't blow the boiler. Yeah, I'm hoping that I don't either. It won't be quite as dramatic of an explosion, but you don't want steam and hot water and bits of metal flying around. A little edging that could. Yeah, it screams right along. I mean, that thing's zipping along. I ain't sure how many RPM it's turning, but it's quite a few. It's got the steam return lines that run up into the Oh, you can see the steam coming out of a little smokestack there. And it makes it steam, which is kind of cool. See a little bit of water out of the motor, especially at first. But once it gets all heated up, it doesn't lose a whole lot of water. Are there tubes in the tank? No, that's just a, just a, it's just empty inside. There's no tubes or anything like that. It just boils water inside like a tea kettle. It's got the little, that's the pressure line. These are the exhaust. It's still running along pretty good. How long have we been running that thing? I forgot to check the time when I started it. But we'll let that run along. Where did the other pan go? I got to hold it down. It vibrates just enough it wants to walk around on the table a bit. And this one here, I don't know if you can see it at this angle. I'll show you when it's done. There's holes around the edge, and you can use this with a, in England they call it a Meccano set. You can use it with an erector set, basically, as a power source for something in an erector set. And it's all compatible with that, the size of the holes and the layout. Missed if I said what decade. I think this one's from the 60s or 70s, probably. It's a little bit older style, but it's not the really old style. It's not the more modern one either. There you can hear it starting to slow down. So it's running low on water. But we'll let it run a little bit. Now she's really running down now. And it's starting to run out of water now. So I will take the fire out. Put the fire out. I'll use the whistle here. Turn this so you can see what I'm doing. I'll use the whistle to let the pressure off. And then once all the pressure is off, I'll take the overflow plug out of the end. And the reason for that is to vent the boiler so that as the steam inside cools down, it doesn't create a vacuum and suck the boiler flat. And even big full-size boilers, you need to do that when you shut one down as it cools off because, yeah, you can suck a massive boiler flat because you let it build vacuum inside because you didn't vent the damn thing. But anyway, I was going to show you while that's cooling off. There is some water left inside of that, even after it slows way down. It's not dry. I'll have to empty the water out of it. But I wanted to show you this one acquisition I made. That is a Reeder cast aluminum skillet, Los Angeles, California. I'd never heard of them before, but it's a really nice pan. It's got kind of a dimpled, not really a hammered surface, but it's definitely textured. It's in pretty good shape. It won't take much to clean that up. Just a little bit of blue, non-lye, not fume-free easy off. Just get a little bit of the buildup off it, and that'll be good as new. And I thought that's a pretty slick little pan. Didn't pay a whole lot for it, and is definitely worth the money. There's not a lot of cookware makers in California. There's Renfro-Ware in Los Angeles. These guys make aluminum, apparently. American Brass and Iron, ABI, I believe is Northern California. I want to say offhand, but I think they're California. But that's really about it for the for California cast iron makers. You're going to mess around until you burn yourself, ain't you, cat? It does cool off fairly quick. It's all pretty thin stuff. Don't people put a small fan blade on those? Those are a little bit different. They're either a Stirling engine, which works different. It works on a heat transfer, or some of them are a thermal electric. It generates electricity directly from the heat, and just enough to run a fan. But yeah, they're not usually steam powered like that. Although there probably is somewhere out there an antique, steam kettle boiler with a little fan that the steam runs. Never seen a boiler below firsthand, but you've seen pictures. You had to oversee the inspections and general internal inspection for process and heating boilers. Yeah, I mean, they can definitely be dangerous if things go wrong, but these are fairly safe little toys. I mean, they're hot and you can burn yourself on them, but they're not terribly likely to explode. It has it's got a safety valve on it and the whistle. I don't think the whistle would relieve pressure, but there's not a huge chance of it exploding. I'm sure you could let it boil dry and start a fire with the damn thing. I wonder if you ever heard of or used Victoria cast iron. I've heard of it. I don't have any. It was made in Colombia, actually. Although I think the last few years they might have moved to where they're making it in China now. But a lot of it is marked made in Colombia, and they look like pretty decent cast iron. I've been meaning to get hold of one just to check them out. Yeah, Huey says, yeah, surprisingly good. Yeah, it looks like pretty decent stuff. So I wouldn't pass it up. And usually you can get it pretty cheap too. It's not terribly expensive. Somebody can't hear it. I don't know. Get caught back up here. Your grandmother made a lot of German food. Your cousin got all the recipe books. I make a really good sauerbraten. I'll have to make some of that one of these days. Sauerbraten, it's basically pickled pot roast. And it's really good. You take a chunk of meat and you soak it in the vinegar brine with ginger and some other spices, and you pickle it up, and then you make it in the oven. And when you take it out, the liquid that's in there, you thicken that up with some ginger snaps, and yeah, it's really good stuff. Actually, the wood stove fans use a Pelter device to generate a few volts. Yeah, like I said, they're a thermal electric type of thing. Although I have seen ones that are actual Stirling engines, but the problem is you have to have hot and cold for a Stirling engine to work. You're basically moving the heat back and forth between two cylinders. You have a hot side and a cold side. And sitting on a wood stove, you can't really get the cool side to cool down enough because you're sitting right on top of a big heat source. How many quarts does that favorite oval roaster hold? Uh, I'm not sure. Quite a few. I mean, it's a big roaster. It's a good 20 inches long, and uh, kind of looking at it, I'd say about 8 inches deep. So, yeah, not sure how many quarts it holds. Probably 10, maybe. Just kind of guessing off the top of my head. Cooking anything on the wood stove? No, like I said, I'm just going to play with this tonight. And next week, though, I'm going to try some making some fried rice because I've never done any. Just acquired a Wagner cast iron #7 roaster. Wonder if the same size. Uh, I have a #7 aluminum roaster, and it's a bit smaller than the big favorite that I have. The Victoria cast iron you bought for your wife, 10 inches, become one of your favorite modern pieces. Yeah, like I said, the ones I've seen, they look pretty good. I haven't, like I said, I'm going to get one of these days to try them out, and they look like pretty decent stuff. And you can't. And before long, I'm going to do another little stream on some of the cheaper cast irons, on the imported stuff you can find. Just because we've had a couple of people ask, is there anything out there that isn't quite so expensive? I mean, even a lot of brand name stuff, you can get a decent deal on it, but you can get a lot of uh, imported cast irons that are really nice, and you can get them for 10, $15. So definitely worth looking into. Some of the Taiwanese and Korean stuff is just as good as anything else for cooking on. It's as good as any other cast iron. A lot of it isn't quite as pretty on the outside. They tend to be a little rough and wonky on the outside and machined nice on the inside, though. So you can definitely get a cheap set of cast iron that you don't have to worry about messing anything up, and try it out, see if you can even handle cooking in cast iron. Some people never do get the hang of it because you get so used to the way that something like stainless steel or aluminum cooks that they can't quite get a handle on cast iron because it is a bit different. Victoria also has a high end set. Looks great, but you haven't grabbed one yet. You love your Pioneer Woman. Yeah, Pioneer Woman's another nice one. I really like the design. The quality kind of varies. I mean, I've seen some that are pretty good. The texture is kind of comparable to Lodge almost. And I've seen some that were really, really rough, but they're a real nice design. They got real comfortable handles, and pretty much all of them, at least everything bigger than like a #5 size, has a helper handle on it, which is handy. I got a #7 Griswold Dutch oven. Get a second mortgage for the trivet. Trivets you see it are more than Dutch ovens. Yeah, it's kind of weird. If you're trying to find a marked trivet of a off size like a #7 instead of a 8 or 10, they're hard to find, and if anybody knows what they are, they definitely want a pile of money for them. There's the cat. You gonna behave yourself for the time being. Took about 8 months to smooth it. Cooked outside with it a lot. Yeah, like I said, the Pioneer Woman, they're a good design. There's another one, Tools of the Trade, I think it is. Some kind of, I'm not sure who sold it, but I think they're the ones that really uh, had a really nice handle. I really loved the design of it. But the ones I seen, they were all really, really rough. I mean, if they had just a little bit better quality control, it would have been better. But it was a great design. Might be strange, but you don't worry much about trivets. You rarely use them. They're nice if you're doing a roast. so you can get it up out of the liquid a little bit. I mean, a little bit of liquid along the bottom is nice, but kind of want it to brown a little farther around, and trivets do help with that. But yeah, a lot of times I just throw the stuff right in the Dutch oven without a trivet. Had some crappy Chinese cast iron, and I used to hate it. Then you realized your Lodge enamel Dutch oven was made in China. Yeah, they're starting to make the Lodge enameled in America now too. So, but the Chinese stuff really kind of varies with the quality. I mean, I've seen some that's pretty good. I've seen a lot that's really bad. But like I said, Korea and Taiwan usually seem to be pretty good. I mean, there's a few bad ones from them too, but overall, they're usually pretty decent. When you make a roast, you cut potatoes half-inch thick and line the bottom. Makes the roast great, and potatoes come out great. Yeah, that sounds good. I'll have to try that one of these times. Back up here. Discounts galore. Yeah, I'd like to get. I need a trivet for that big favorite roaster of mine, but that's something you're practically never going to find on its own. I mean, you might find a roaster with a trivet, but finding a big oval trivet by itself, you don't see them very often. And when you do, a lot of times they're not going to be a favorite, which would be nice. But right now, I got a wire rack, an oval wire rack that I had to bend up the sides a little bit to make it fit right, and that'll work good for roasting in it. Auction houses are iffy on shipping. Yeah, they can be. I mean, some of them they'll send it out to like the UPS store or something like that and have them pack it. But a lot of times, the ones that do it themselves, yeah, they're not always the best. I've gotten some that were packed really good, and gotten some that I'm amazed they even handled gently. I'm surprised it managed to make it through the process of being shipped. Damn typos, yeah. I think I'll do the potatoes. That does sound really good to do potatoes like that. You get all that nice meat juice soaked into your spuds. But yeah, I'm like I said, next week I'm gonna do some fried rice in my wok on the wood stove. Like I said, I've never actually made it, so I'll have to look up a couple of recipes and figure out how I want to do that. But I'll have to do a little planning and get some sauerbraten and pickling in the fridge because it is really good. And we can roast it up here. I mean, I'm not going to make you sit there and watch it for. Usually takes about a week or so to brine it. But I can make some of that this winter too. It's like I said, it's really good stuff. As long as I can stay out of the ginger snaps enough to have enough to crumble up into the gravy. I got a big camp oven yesterday. Had a piece of paper between the lid and the bottom, and some paper just thrown in on the side. Luck, thank goodness it was a thick, heavy camp oven, Camp Chef camp oven. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've seen they figure cast iron that's indestructible. They just throw it in a box with a couple of pieces of crumpled up newspaper and think it's going to survive. Where do you find one of them steam engines? I got this one on the Goodwill site, but you see them on auction sites pretty regular. Usually they cost more than $40. You can get brand new kits. Uh, a couple of different places. One is, oh God, what's the name of it? DIY something, DIY model, DIY motor, something like that. I'd have to look it up, and I'll put that on the Facebook page. And they sell kits, boilers and little motors and stuff like that. Most of them look like really nice kits. The new ones, depending on what you're getting, you're looking anywhere from 2 to 500. For some of the more intricate kind of motors, but a lot of neat stuff out there. I'm sure you can find something on eBay too. At least give you an idea of what's out there to find. The two big ones, this is Mammoth, Mamod. They're a big name in these apparently, and they're made in England. And then there's Willesco, I think is the other one. I think they're American made, and they're the ones you see in the older ones anyway. Like I said, there's new kits out there too. Shop around, you can find something reasonable price, I'm sure, just to play with it and see if you like playing with it. They are a lot of fun. I mean, it is a neat little deal. Uh-oh, just caught your wife grilling on a Teflon pan. That might be grounds for divorce. See them on high bid occasionally, Goodwill rarely. Yeah, you don't see them that often on Goodwill. There was this, and then they had another one. There's a lot of kind of model tools, looked like a machine shop. They had a little drill press and a few other machines. There's like 6 of them. They were all mounted on a base like this, and they were run off a common line shaft that you would run off a motor like that. And that went for like $150, where it was only 40 for the motor. Made smashed potatoes, garlic butter, herbs, salt, and pepper. That sounds really good. Do them in the microwave. No really good divorce lawyer if you need one. Google steam engine, you got a picture of a train. Yeah, I think you'd have to look for like a model steam engine or toy steam engine. And this company, Mammoth, they made steam powered cars, steam rollers. There were some steam powered trucks. It's pretty cool stuff. They got a little booklet that comes with it. Anyway, yeah, this is all reasonably cooled off now. Give you a little close up of the backside there. And there's that again. And yeah, it's a pretty neat little deal. There is, like I said, there is some water left in there. It kind of runs out of energy before it runs out of water. And yeah, they're a fun little toy. Would be kind of cool to get a kit and build one up from scratch. You're experimenting with your air fryer pressure cooker. Took sweet potatoes and cooked them for 30 minutes. Let it cool, then cut off one end, and the inside's just squeezed out of the skin. Huh. Oh, and Corey, there's an auction coming up by me pretty soon here. When it starts, I'll post a link on the Facebook page. It says it has a bunch of watches and watchmaking tools. Uh, like I said, they haven't posted the pictures or opened the auction yet, but they might have some watchmaking tools that you still need. And I'll post that up. Like I said, I got no idea what all they got, but they're a pretty good outfit. I've bought a fair bit of stuff from them before, so they're legit at least. And I'll put it up there if there's anything that you still need for tools. They might have it because it said, like I said, they said they had quite a lot of pocket watches, parts, and watchmaking tools. So it might be something useful for you. Engine's quite a pretty piece. Yeah, and I had to clean it all up because after you solder it, of course, brass like that, it oxidizes. But I got it all cleaned up pretty good, and it seems to be holding its shine even after being heated up a few times. Yeah, like I said, I think it starts tomorrow is when the auction starts, and once I do, I'll post the link on the Facebook page. Got the big Emerald Lagasse air fryer, two lids to switch between fryer and pressure. Yeah, I've never tried an air fryer. I mean, I've got plenty of things for cooking around here, but a lot of people swear by them. Saw an ad for a Big Dinky's cast iron auction. Might be in person, not online. Yeah, there's one auction outfit around here that kind of irritate the hell out of me. They do it online, but it's an absentee auction. And what they'll do is you make your bids online, and when the bidding closes, if you're the high bidder, they'll use that as your high bid for their in-person auction. So basically, they auction shit off twice and try and run the price up on you that much more. So even if you get the bid online, somebody might outbid you in person. And yeah, they're you know I don't something like that is it's just a way of squeezing more bids out of everything, really. I mean, yeah, there always have been things, like the big art auctions where they have absentee bidders bidding live on the phone or bidding live online. But this is yeah, it's kind of weird the way they do it, and I don't do business with them very much, if at all, anymore because of it. Because a couple of times, in the way they set it up, it's on the high bid system, but you have to read carefully into the description of the auction before they tell you no, it's actually your absentee bidding online. Yeah, it looks like you win something, then nope. And yeah, they'll use your max bid as the high bid for if anybody else bids on it in person. And there's no way that you can bid against somebody live unless you're there live, basically. So yeah, it's something I try to avoid. So yeah, it pays to keep a close eye on the auction description or the sale terms, things like that. Normally online auctions are pretty straightforward, but once in a while they'll try and slip one in on you like that. And the other thing you got to kind of watch for is bidder's fee. Most auction houses charge, like 10, 12%, something like that. But every once in a while, you'll run across somebody who charges like 25% bidder's fee. So you end up getting the price jacked way up on you. So you definitely want to look out for that too. Yeah, sounds just wrong. Yeah, it is wrong. I mean, they're just just trying to run the bids up more. Luckily, they're not all that common, but you do run across them. The air fryer didn't float. The air fryer didn't float Cynthia's boat. Gave it away. Yeah, like I said, I never used one. I was a rooster. Well, you can see him poking up just back behind the motor there. See if I can move this a little bit so you can get a better view of my magnificent cock. There he is. Made chicken tenders with good shit by Big Cock Ranch, Lexington, Texas. I haven't made chicken tenders in a while. And the 20 to 30 buck handling fee to pack, terrible. Yeah, I could see charging, that kind of money if you're having it professionally packed, like at a UPS store or something like that. But yeah, when they throw it in a box that's already taped together and beat to shit and throw it in there with a couple of pieces of newspaper and try and tell you it's worth 30 bucks to charge to pack it. Armory Auction in South Carolina does that. Yeah, this is Matthews. I think it. Don't quote me on it. I think it's Matthews, and they're out of Green Bay area, eastern Wisconsin. And yeah, I don't like that. Let's see. Statue of Liberty is the non-Cracker Barrel one. You have one that deep fries, cans, pressure cooks. Have the two lids. Never used it. Sits in the bottom of one of the Hoosier cabinets. Yeah, I think the deep frying part you'd at least use once in a while. Make yourself some French fries. I use my deep fryer quite a bit for a lot of different things. Chicken mostly. I mean, usually I deep fry my chicken, whether it's wings or legs or breasts. Just dip them in egg and roll them in cornstarch. Season up the cornstarch. It works really good. You get a really nice, crispy, flaky crust on them, and it doesn't flour. It makes your oil foam after a couple of times because I reuse my oil, and the flour after a couple of uses it'll make your oil foam up real bad on you. Where the cornstarch doesn't do that, and like I said, it makes a really nice coating on it. Can't bear to buy anything that's not right in front of me. Yeah, most of the online auctions you can go and inspect the stuff before the sale, but if it's 200 miles away, it gets a little bit more difficult. And some of them, a lot of them, they'll have a day where you can go look at it. And if you can't do it on that day, you're pretty well screwed. Although some of them are, 9 to 5, 5 days a week, which is nice. You can pretty much drop in anytime and check stuff out if you want to have a look at it. But yeah, that's just the way it works. Of course, a lot of the old in-person auctions, if you want to look at stuff, you just show up early for the sale. The sale will start at 10 in the morning. You get there about 8 and root around and have a look at everything. Went to an in-person auction a couple of weeks ago, and about 3 weeks now. And they had a number 12 Marion skillet there that I was looking at. It went for a lot of money. It went for better than 400 bucks. But was hoping to go a lot cheaper than that. But there's always that one guy that's just gotta have it worse than I do. Would have spent 300 on it, but yeah, I couldn't. I think it was 425 is what it finally went for. and you don't see Marions very often, and that's the only 12 I ever come across. So they're probably pretty scarce, but still. Had an auction house in Abilene. They closed it down. There's another one, but they just sell heavy equipment. Yeah, there's one around here. They do a lot of equipment, farm equipment, things like that, and a lot of guns and sporting goods. And they used to sell, break it down into different sales. They'd have their firearms and sporting goods and their tools and tractors and sort of things, and then household goods and antiques. And they decided to quit doing the household and antique ones because they weren't getting quite enough business on it. They've been getting less and less every sale, and they finally said, we're not going to bother with it anymore. Everything happens for a reason. Yeah, you're like me. You like to be able to touch, feel, twist, turn, check for cracks and wobbles. Yeah, it's always best if you can look things over ahead of time. Especially if it's something that's going to be expensive. You definitely want to check it out if you can. Sometimes you can't, and like with that double square Wagner waffle iron, deliberately hiding a big crack like that. You waddle and have a crack. But anyhow, we're just about done here for the evening, getting close to the end. Like I said, I'm gonna try some fried rice next week and give that a try. And later on in the winter, once I get it set up, I'll try some sauerbraten. And like I said, I mean, there's a million different things I was gonna cook. To think of them all summer long, and if I had any sense, I'd just write some of it down. But I'll definitely come up with some stuff to cook in, and it's always fun to cook with the wok on the wood stove because it works so damn nice. It's a load of fun. How many times have I smashed my toes on that rooster? Oh, a couple. I mean, he's kind of pulled out in the traffic right now because I had to get the butcher block out. But usually I manage to keep him far enough back that I'm not breaking breaking toes on him. But yeah, there have been a couple of times I walked by and kicked him. It's always your little toes too, the two smaller toes on the outside. Live in northern Minnesota. It's quite rural. Still auction houses that come to the property and don't have online bidding. Yeah, there's still a few online or in person auction outfits around here. In the wintertime, he's got a place where kind of indoors where they'll have auctions indoors, bring the stuff there and sell it instead of. But during the summer, then they'll go around to different estates or wherever the stuff is and sell it right on site. But there's getting to be less of them. There's still a few around. Most of them have gone to they've gone mostly online. Even the ones that still do in-person auctions, they'll do most of them online. And it's kind of the opposite. Usually they'll do the smaller stuff online and big machinery and real estate and that sort of thing in person. But yeah, we'll wrap her up here, call it a night. I'll see you guys next week. And yeah, next week we'll be doing some fried rice on the wok on the wood stove. See how that goes. And hope you enjoyed the show. Had fun with the little steam engine. I gotta empty it out and dry out the cylinder. It's a good idea because there'll be some water left in there, some condensation. Clean that out, and empty out the boiler so it dries, and everything will be happy with that. And I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed the show, and good night.